What's up, everybody? Welcome to 6 Minutes a Day, a journey to your higher self. My name is Justin, and this is Strength, Yoga, and Freedom, the podcast or the YouTube channel. Wherever you're watching or listening from, I want to welcome you. If you are just stumbling on this program, this is day number 18 of the 6 Minutes a Day, a journey to your higher self. That does not mean that you are behind or have missed anything. All of the previous trainings are in YouTube and on your favorite podcast app, ready to be listened to at your own pace. So go at your own pace. There's no essay you have to write at the end of the program. We're just here giving out some real world advice as a service to you. So go right on in and listen or watch at your own leisure. So this week we have been talking all about relationships and other people. The first half of this program has been all about the self. So review all of that. If you want to go back and re-examine some areas in your physical practices or your mental practices about yourself, if you want to review those, back up and listen to those. But this week, we're taking all of what we've learned and moving it forward into how we go out into the world, where yoga really is practiced off the mat. So we're out in the world and we're moving through the world and we're dealing with other people. And so I have some trainings in this second half that will help us to use that self-love to operate out in the world. And today, we're going to talk about one of those behavior patterns that is important to recognize within either ourselves or others so that we can move past that and move into the sense of a higher sense of self, right? And more happiness. That is gaslighting. That's today's topic, gaslighting. So we're going to talk about some general situations regarding gaslighting. But if you feel as though the relationship that you are in, wherever it is becoming so unbearable that it may require medical attention, please seek your medical professional. These trainings are not any substitution for medical advice. Please see your medical professional. This is all about generalized situations that happen daily. So, what is gaslighting? The first thing that we need to know about gaslighting is that it is actually a form of psychological control and manipulation. All right? It is doing and saying things that trick someone into questioning their own reality. I'm going to say that again. It is doing and saying things that trick someone into questioning their own reality. Trick someone. That word trick is important. What that does to the person who's being gaslit is it leads to a feeling of doubt, feeling like you're losing your memory, losing your sense of ability to do things, doubting what you know is true. The reason this is so important to talk about is because when this happens, this type of behavior prohibits you, because of the doubt, prohibits you from moving forward in your life into happiness, because that feeling of doubt is laced with feelings of having no control and no power in your own life. Because the person who's gaslighting you gets satisfaction from gaining power over you. So you lose it, they gain it, and it's hard to move into a sense of higher self. So that's what gaslighting is. Let's talk about some examples of it. Now, gaslighting starts off a lot of times small comments. They may seem like they're one-off comments here or there, but they could turn into something bigger. The first example is lying about past events. So if something happens in the past, you know it happened, you're sure it happened, you have even pictures that it happened, and you might bring it up. Someone who's gaslighting you might say, that never happened. That's lying about past events. Or, I never said that to so-and-so in that conversation, but you know it happened because you were right there. Second one, minimizing or brushing off your feelings. If the gaslighter says things like, you are so sensitive, or I don't understand why you are always overreacting, you must be crazy, calm down. Those are examples of brushing off someone else's feelings. So you see how it could get a little more severe. It might start off with little things like, oh, that really never happened. Like someone who's gaslighting you may act like they forgot that it never happened. It might seem small to you, but it actually starts to get bigger and bigger and moving into, oh, you're so sensitive. Or I don't understand why you will overreact to all that. Another example of gaslighting is blame shifting. Blame shifting means you have a conversation with someone who has crossed some kind of boundary, or if you have set up some type of rule, a set of rules for yourself in your household, a set of rules for yourself personally, for your children, for your business, and whatever the case may be, and the blame gets shifted off of them onto you or someone else. An example of that would be, well, I cheated on you because you don't pay enough attention to me. That's a blame shift. Another one is, well, every time I think you have my back, you just mess everything up and then I have to clean it all up. Maybe if you've made some kind of mistake, that kind of comment could come out from someone who's gaslighting you. Blame shifting can also take another form when someone is trying to distract you by asking you a question about that procedure that you've set forth. So if you say, close the door before you leave, and everybody knows that you have to close the door before you leave, and you bring that up with the other person who might be gaslighting you, and you say, look, I've asked you to close the door and you never close the door, they could bring up why you never have unplugged the toaster oven. The toaster oven has nothing to do with the door being closed, and maybe it's not as important in your household as that door for whatever reason, but the blame gets shifted and they ask you a question to get your mind off of it. That's another example. That prohibits positive forward movement in your life. So what do you do? What do you do if you've been gaslit? Well, the first thing to remember about gaslighting is that we need to remember that we learn through this program that we are honoring ourselves and we're teaching others how self-love looks by how we operate in the world. That's how we're teaching others. If someone else is not operating out of self-love, their behavior will become inadvertently exposed because you are practicing self-love, not because you're trying to expose their crappy behavior. An example of that would be pausing your conversation so that you can go, if you're being gaslit and you recognize it, you can go and deal with those emotions before you come back. That's a great way to pause and say, you know what, we're not talking about this right now. I am gonna go off and I'm gonna think about this and process my emotions, and go off and process your emotions and set boundaries. Of course, setting boundaries are very important. You can set them in the moment if you need to, if it gets to that point, or when you come back from dealing with your feelings, like I just mentioned a moment ago. So you can set a boundary by saying something like, if you undermine my ability one more time, if you impugn my memory, if you undermine my intentions again, this is going to get very embarrassing for you. So I suggest that we stop talking about that so that it does not get embarrassing for you. Because remember, you're acting out of self-love. So you have the proof, you have the messages, you're just acting out of integrity and honesty. You're not questioning your own motives or your own behavior, someone else is. And so when you move with honesty and integrity and you say, if you impugn that, or if you undermine it, or if you prohibit me in the future from expressing this or doing that, it's going to get embarrassing for you. You're setting a boundary that you do not want to tolerate that behavior anymore, because you're just going to continue to move through love and love and love, and that behavior is going to get exposed. You don't even have to do anything about it. Just setting the boundary because you're dealing with self-love. You're not asking them to stop doing that with everyone or change the way that they operate. That's not your job to change someone else's behavior. You're just telling someone what you will tolerate and what you will not tolerate. Finally, if it's that bad, you may need to walk away from the relationship or change the dynamics of the relationship so that it's not as personal as it was before. And that's a tough thing to do. And you may need professional help when it comes to that as well. Gaslighting is very, very detrimental for personal growth. So as we move through the last couple days of this week, we will be talking about a few more behaviors that we may notice in others, some with possibly different personality types than your own. And so as we continue to discover some of these other personalities, and I give you a couple of tips to move your way through them, just keep practicing the self-love. Move with integrity, move with honesty, doing the best you can to keep yourself in that state of constantly growing and moving forward. Because today you're going to find a smile, you're going to find a laugh, you're going to find something that hits your soul. And when it does, I want you to enjoy it for a moment because you deserve it. Thank you all for being here, and I'll see you in our next training.